Hi, it's Hans at ahappierman.com. Today's topic is how to create more spendable cash. Well, I've kind of realized that that's always a problem in more happiness, because a little bit more money cash you can spend, you're gonna have a better life if you have more money. And I've been guilty of a number of things myself over the years, and I got my notes here of kind of where some of the problems are. And it isn't always just you're spending too much. Sometimes it's, I'll first list, the first one is sometimes you have an overzealous savings plan, right, where you're trying to save so much of your income you just don't have any really to live on. You don't have a lot of money for fun now. You're kind of going overboard on the savings. Now, certainly having a big savings account and putting money aside for a rainy day in the future and other needs is a great thing to have. But if it makes your life in the present very, very limited and very, very difficult, then you're saving too much. I know when I first started working back in the 1990, I started saving a lot of money. I saved a ton of money in a couple of years. It limited my life somewhat, although those were good years. I had some fun, but I saved a lot of money. And then when I got married, and I ended up spending all that savings anyway, foolishly. So you want to be careful. Try to get your savings dialed in. Some savings, but not overzealous. Another problem a lot of people have is being underemployed, meaning you either don't work a full 40-hour week or more, or if you're trying to get by on part-time work, you're not gonna probably be able to have a lot of spendable cash. You really got to think in terms of 40-hour work of work a week or more with full-time benefits, because a lot of time with those part-time jobs, cobbling them together, you don't have the benefits. Now the part-time works good for a young person who's still getting plenty of money from their parents. It's kind of where my kids are at. I don't give them a ton of money, but I'm still paying their health insurance and their cell phone and their gym memberships and some the travel related emergency card. There's a couple other things I'm paying for them, and you're trying to help them. They're paying the bulk of their living expenses, but that health insurance is a big one, right? If they didn't have their father to pay for their health insurance, then wouldn't they have to have their own? So that's why you got to think in terms of full-time income. There's a lot of younger people if they're listening to this, you really want to get yourself going and get a full-time job with the full-time benefits. Who knows how all of this stuff is going to work out in the future. You can't count on the politicians to save you with the health insurance. You got to save yourself and get a job that has health insurance, or make so much money on your own that you can pay for the health insurance. And usually you probably got to think in terms of making more than $100,000 a year so you can afford that $25,000 a year of health insurance, because that's how much a good health insurance plan costs, $25,000 a year, or roughly, right? So an underemployed too implies you want to be making enough money. You got to think in terms of making the happier income level, $75,000 a year or more. If you're making considerably less than that, you're not going to have much spendable income. So you got to get that income up. Low, that goes into the low, that's more the low income, right? Maybe you're working 40 hours a week, but you're only making like $30,000 a year. Well, you're not going to have that great of a life at $30,000 a year. I mean, that's better than zero, of course. And maybe in the short run, that's good, but you got to think in terms of how do you bump that up? How do I get up to 40? How do I get up to 50? And then maybe eventually you get up to 75 or more, and then you're going to be quite happy with a lot more spendable income, a lot more spendable cash. Another problem some people have are like old issues. Which means they probably were underemployed or low income or old problems, like a divorce, like an old health problem, like deferred maintenance, and that's kind of the story of my life. I got a lot of old issues, kind of surrounding my divorce, and I've kind of got past those old issues related to the divorce, but all of that time, all that money spent on the divorce related stuff, postponed. I had to defer all kinds of things for years that I should have been doing before. That's what I mean by an old issue. Like if you've got dental problems because you don't have the money now, well, that's going to cost you tons of money later. So if you have, the best is to kind of deal with your current issues as they come up. If you have a problem with your teeth, go to the dentist and get it corrected. If you have a health problem, get it corrected. If you have a problem with your vehicle, you want to get it corrected. You don't want to let this keep going. You'll run your car into the ground and then need a new car instead of just trying to fix the older one for a few $1,000s, right? So you've got to try to deal immediately with issues rather than waiting. And probably the last one I wanted to touch on was this idea of expensive tastes or expensive people. So my wife is kind of expensive. She liked the nicer things, fancier furniture, always liked to be remodeling the house, good stuff. And who doesn't like all the good stuff? It's just, if you can't afford it, the good stuff will ruin your life, right? You have to pick and choose what luxury you need, and also the people you'll deal with. Sometimes your friends may be doing much better than you financially, and they're always doing stuff, and they're inviting you along, and what they're doing, though, might be real expensive. If they like to go skiing out in the mountains, if they like to go golfing every weekend, if they want to go traveling to expensive locations, if you want to tag along with them, expensive hotels, expensive dinners, expensive drinks, expensive excursions, expensive all of that, right? If you have an expensive hobby like hunting, fishing, boating, golfing, skiing, all those things cost a lot of money, right? So you got to pick and choose what you want to do for fun and expensiveness. And probably the biggest one, like I said, is probably having an expensive spouse that doesn't really understand finances that well and kind of pushes you into doing things you really can't afford. And certainly, as you build yourself up, you're going to want to spend money on it. There's nothing wrong with spending money if you have it. So there you go. Give those ideas on how to create more spendable cash some thought. All for now.